We move on to the featured fight for the undercard. This one is Jim A-10 Miller versus Vinc Pichel at 155 pounds. Jim Miller's been around for a while. He's the American. He's 32-14. He's 36 years old, 5 feet 8 inches tall, 21-13 in the UFC. He made his UFC debut back in 2010 with the submission win over David Barron. And he's going against Vinc Pichel, who's an American, 12-2, 37 years old, 5 feet 10 inches tall, and 5-2 in the UFC. That is not including his time on The Ultimate Fighter. He was on season 15, actually, which was the only live season, and he went 3-1 on that show. What do you think about these guys?
Well, you know how we feel about Jim Miller here. You know, he's been in the UFC a very long time. We've talked about him before. BJJ black belt, one of the most dangerous grapplers in the UFC, if not MMA.
Yep.
You know, so there's not really much to go on about Jim Miller because we could really talk about his accomplishments and what he's done and where he's at all day. But he's kind of been reduced to a gatekeeper as of late at this stage in his career. You know, now he's fighting Pichel, who is fighting for the first time after having hip surgery.
Yes, he
I
did.
think
have
that's
surgery.
important to note because that could come into play.
Especially in a match with the guy where your hips are going to be really important.
Yeah.
So Jim Miller's going to wrestle you. We know what he's going to do. He's going to come in and try to take you down. Now, if you're a guy with bad hips are very important in defending and stopping a shot.
Yeah.
So that could have a big effect depending on how
it's
that
not
surgery
like
went.
Pichel's a spring chicken, you know.
No, he's 37 years old.
So that hip surgery could very well. It's not like you're 22 coming off a hip surgery or an ACL or something, you know, or you know, it's just one of those things. You're older, the surgeries they're gonna play.
Yeah,
they're gonna play on you. So
yeah,
for me, you know, it's another one of those guys that he was a late bloomer in MMA as well.
Yeah,
he kind of dropped out of school I think at like 15, got into drugs for 5 years, and then finally once he got clean, one of his friends got him into MMA, and he's been doing that ever since. So I mean, he's turned it into a pretty solid career.
Yeah, a lot of people who've come from rough backgrounds have used MMA to turn their life around. It's pretty awesome.
I like the stories from that.
Yeah, definitely.
As long as they're staying clean, man.
But, you know, I think that they made this fight at the perfect time for both of these guys. They're both getting up there in age, 36 and 37. Both of them, while they have impressive records in the UFC, had a little bit of adversity recently, and then both of them have the same win in their last fight. So if you look at Jim Miller, he fought Roosevelt Roberts and submitted him in round 1 in his last fight by armbar.
Yep.
That's also the same person that Vinc Pichel fought in his last fight, and he won by decision. So a lot of things kind of play into this where this fight just kind of seems to make sense right now.
Yeah.
As far as title implications, not a lot of title implications on it, but for, you know, fighters to fill a card and exciting fights and things like that, names on there, this is a good one to put on there.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this one. Both guys have a lot of significant wins. Like, if you look at Jim Miller, I'll just list off a few here. Joe Lazon, Thiago Alves, Takanori Gomi, and Dwayne Bane Ludwig. If you know who TJ Dillashaw is, you know who Dwayne Ludwig is. Dwayne Ludwig is credited with his striking.
Missed storyline there, too, because it drives me nuts how the UFC missed out on that whole opportunity between a fight with TJ and Faber.
They screwed it.
Because Conor called him out on The Ultimate Fighter, and then, you know, Faber had TJ's back during that whole time, and then all of a sudden, literally right after that, I'm moving to Dwayne's camp, and then like Conor's like, I told you, and they missed this whole opportunity.
And the only reason Conor knew though is because they tried to poach Conor themselves.
Yeah,
Conor's like, no, I'm not going. I'm loyal to my team. But so you know that happened. But Jim Miller, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He has 18 submission wins. Former D1 wrestler, 10 decisions, and 4 knockouts. So Jim Miller, we know, not going to try to finish and not trying to knock anybody out.
No.
He's going to be looking to wrestle you and take you down. He's either going to try to grind out a decision or submit you. And that might be hard on Pichel's hips. But Pichel himself has a couple of good wins as well. He has Joaquim Silva, who's been making a lot of noise lately, and Anthony Njokuani.
Right.
He also has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. So there are levels. We talk about that a lot. He doesn't have a ton of submissions. He only has 2 submissions. He has 8 knockouts, and he has 5 decisions. It's going to be interesting to see how this does because I feel like he's probably been a little bit more successful in the last couple of years than Jim Miller has been. What do you think overall? Who do you think is going to win this one?
So for me, while Pichel's turned into a pretty solid fighter, I just don't think he's anywhere near the level of Jim Miller. So I think that Jim Miller's actually going to come in here. I think he's going to have a very comfortable night. He's going to finish this with a round 1 submission.
All right. Well, I was really looking forward to seeing what goes on here. Jim Miller, he struggled a little bit, but I think that this is the perfect fight for him to get back in the win column. Like we talked about with the ground game, I think that he's just going to be able to take him down. I think he's going to grind out a decision. I don't see a submission coming. We'll find out, though, here.
Yep.
It's going to be fun.